Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your part of Nevada. If you have comments or questions, send me an email at bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. If you would like a call back, please leave your number. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States. Rarely, truthfully, are fully covered by news media. I always select a few for my listeners' information. Most are good shootings, some not so good, but all are educational for those of you that keep a defensive firearm at home or carry one out in public. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun knowledgeable defense attorney is always recommended. Stories I do here are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents are as reported, with the names of the participants generally deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used in the story. First up is getting our usual discussion of what's coming up with a new administration, a President Joe Biden update. President Joe Biden's statement on February 14, 2021, just a few days ago. The president spent some time going over the horrible losses to students and families during the shooting at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, where a deranged gunman murdered 14 students and 3 educators on February 14, 2018. That was 2 years ago. Wow. Then, 3 years ago, I'm sorry. Then President Biden added this statement. This is an exact quote. This administration will not wait for the next mass shooting to heed that call. We will take action to end our epidemic of gun violence and make our schools and communities safer. Today, I am calling on Congress to enact common sense gun law reforms, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. We owe it to all those we've lost and to all those left behind to grieve and make a change. The time to act is now. That from Mr. Biden is pretty clear. Commenting on that, background checks on all gun sales is already happening in many states, counties, and cities. Most studies show jurisdictions with the stricter regulations have the highest murder rates. Violent crime has never been stopped by regulations. By definition, criminals are those who do not obey the law. Thousands of so-called assault weapons, that means scary-looking firearms, and standard capacity magazines are owned for competition shooting, collecting, and self-defense. Crime studies again show only a tiny fraction are ever used in crime. You can check out the data for yourself if you go to www.crimepreventionresearchcenter.org. That is crimepreventionresearchcenter.org. All of the data is there for you to look at, by county, by city, by states, by years, by everything. It's loaded with data. Look it up. Look it up, Mr. Biden, maybe. Story number 2. The Las Vegas Review-Journal reports February 4, 2021, here in Las Vegas, Nevada, officers were called just before noon last Wednesday to the Range 702 at 5999 Dean Martin Drive after an employee reported that a man had been caught rifling through a customer's bag during a break in a concealed weapon permit class. The range employees escorted this 27-year-old outside to await the police. Seconds after the police pulled up, the man attacked a female officer who had responded to this. There was a male and a female officer. He attacked the female officer, striking her twice, or stabbing her actually with a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver. Most everyone on the scene then shot the 27-year-old. He appears to have been hit 14 times, according to the press. Metropolitan Police Department, Brett Zimmerman, their spokesman, said the 27-year-old had a violent history with police, including charges of attempted murder, attempted robbery of a firearm, and assault on a protected person. All involved and arriving police officers had knowledge of the 27-year-old's violent past before the shooting. Assistant Sheriff Zimmerman said the injured officer was treated and released from University Medical Center the afternoon of the shooting. She suffered a fracture near her eye. No charges have been filed against the crowd that shot the 27-year-old attacker. Comments here. Shooting ranges, like all other businesses, have a danger of individuals wandering in who are not there for good reasons. Shooting ranges have an added problem, the presence of loaded, operable firearms. This certainly appears to be a valid use of deadly force, as 5 trained and experienced individuals all made the same choice to shoot. Were there possible issues with clearing the background? Perhaps. As the background was I-15 freeway and the Las Vegas Strip, with decisions that must be made instantly to save a human life, nobody ever has time to read the background. Generally, if you have time to clear the background, the shooting was not a life and death immediate decision. Backgrounds often can be cleared by changing your position, moving you to right or your left, shooting low so soft ground is behind your target, or using frangable low penetration bullets. Training matters because no 2 shootings are ever exactly the same. We're going to break here for a little commercial from my latest book, which is available on Amazon Kindle. After that's over, I'll be right back with story number 3. Don't go away. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. And we are back. The book looks like this. You can get them, as I said, at Amazon Kindle. It's a fairly quick read, and you'll learn a lot of stuff that may save you a lot of money in the future. Story number 3. The Las Vegas Review-Journal, again, journalist Catlin Newberg, reported February 12, 2021, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officers responded just after 6 in the evening on Thursday after receiving a silent alarm from the Sin City Smoke Shop on Desert Inn Road. When officers arrived, they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. Metro Homicide Lieutenant Ray Spencer, a very bright guy, told reporters that the man who was shot had been attempting to shoplift and got into a fight with another man in the parking lot. Police said in an emailed statement Friday that the man had entered the business and gotten into an argument with a clerk, identified as a local 30-year-old. During the argument, the clerk pulled out a handgun and shot the attempted shoplifter. The wounded shoplifter was taken to Sunrise Hospital and Medical Center, where he died. The 30-year-old clerk faces 1 count of murder with a deadly weapon. As of this report, he remains in the Clark County Detention Center without bail. The shoplifter who was killed will be identified by the Clark County Coroner's Office after his family has been notified. A bail hearing in this case is scheduled. We don't have that yet as going on the air here. Comments: the incident certainly looks like a property crime with no threat of death or serious bodily harm to any human. Nobody wants petty criminals to get away with these minor crimes, but the law does not allow shooting all those who deserve to be shot. The law allows deadly force only when a human is in danger of bodily injury or death, serious bodily injury or death, folks. With a huge uptick in firearm sales and our staggering increase in crime, lots of people are out there with no idea when to use that weapon. Call 911, run away, use verbal warnings. Free training is available on dozens of websites like firedupwithboberwin.com. Check it out. Story number 4. This is from WEAR TV 15 News Reports, February 12, 2021, in Escambia County, Florida. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office, sheriff's deputies responded to a burglary in progress at the 4200 block of Molino Road. 2 deputies arrived on scene to find the homeowner holding a 28-year-old and a 32-year-old at gunpoint. The homeowner told deputies when he got home that evening, he saw a strange vehicle parked down the road. He found the 2 suspects walking around his property. Deputies say a search of their car revealed 2 guns and stolen items that were taken from vehicles in previous car burglaries in the same area. The 28-year-old was also caught trying to hide a bag of methamphetamine when he was in the back of a patrol car. The 28-year-old is charged with loitering and prowling, 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a controlled substance, introduction of contraband into a correctional facility. that correctional facility would be the police car, and tampering with evidence. The 32-year-old is charged with loitering and prowling and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Again, Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons said if these two would have been working or doing something productive, a law-abiding citizen would not have to risk his own safety to put a stop to their actions. We are glad no one was hurt by their criminal endeavor. Don't steal other people's property. That's quoting the sheriff. Comments here. 2 more thugs are off the street because an armed citizen was able to prevent them from completing their intended crime. The fact that both were armed felons underscores the risk taken by this homeowner. What you think is a loitering homeless person may turn out to be a hardened criminal. If time and distance allow, always try to let the professionals handle the situation. Call 911, and if you cannot run, stay behind hard cover and wait. This story could easily have turned into a tragedy. You never know who you're facing. We're going to break here now for a word from some of our friends and supporters. I'll be back in just a minute. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. And we are back. Story number 5, this comes from WTVD News Fox 8, reported February 13, 2021, in Goldsboro, North Carolina. When officers responded to a shooting at an apartment around 1 in the early morning, they found a 73-year-old female resident with a gunshot wound. After finding the woman who had been shot at the Avalon Trace Apartments, officers then found a man with a gunshot wound at the intersection of William Street and Elm Street, which apparently is nearby. The man was later identified as a local 19-year-old. The investigation revealed that the 19-year-old and another masked person broke into the 73-year-old woman's residence and demanded money before the shooting. As the robbery was happening, a 12-year-old boy shot at the intruders. That resistance caused them to flee the residence. Both the 73-year-old female victim and the injured 19-year-old home invader, who was captured nearby, were taken to Wayne UNC Healthcare. The 19-year-old intruder died from his injuries. As of this report, the second intruder has not been identified or captured. The 73-year-old female victim was treated at the hospital and released. Goldsboro police say they do not anticipate charging the 12-year-old. I would hope not. The investigation is ongoing. Comments on this. This is a really tough thing for a 12-year-old to go through. He was able to save the intended victim's life, but will probably need years of psychological counseling. Can you imagine the well-intended but hurtful jokes he will endure from his school classmates? I expect the best solution is that his family move to a new area and change their names. An example of my belief that nobody ever really wins a gunfight. These are always life-changing experiences for this young man. It's going to be more than a life-changing experience. Story number 6. Local 10 News, a journalist named Annalise Garcia, I think I got that right, reports February 13, 2021 in Miami-Dade County, Florida. Miami-Dade police said a shooting took place around 7 in the morning at a gas station near Northwest 79th Street and 13th Court. A local resident who lives next to the gas station told Local 10 News he heard what sounded like 3 gunshots. A 23-year-old woman, the victim apparently, fought back, reportedly shooting the suspect during an armed robbery. Police confirmed the intended victim shot the suspect multiple times during the attempted robbery. It says that. The mother of the 23-year-old woman who shot the attempted robber at the Valero gas station told Local 10 News that her daughter had a legal license to carry the firearm. The subject was transported to Ryder Trauma Center at Jackson Memorial Hospital, where he is in critical condition. The incident is under investigation. Comments here, Miami-Dade, Florida is no stranger to street crime. Citizens are arming and fighting back as law enforcement responses take longer and longer due to shrinking budgets and increased calls for help. The old adage, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, rings true again. The victim here, according to her mother, had gone through the training and obtained her permit. Note to mom, don't try to help by doing press interviews. Too often, friends and family muck up self-defense cases by giving their opinions to the media. Happens all the time. If one of your kin, your children, your brother, your husband, some of your neighbor is in trouble over a shooting or involved in a shooting, let their lawyer do the talking. Don't help. We're going to break now for a short commercial from some more of our friends and supporters. I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. Story number 7. This is from WHBQ Fox 13, a journalist whose last name is Riley. I'm not going to try and pronounce his first name. Reports February 11, 2021 in Memphis, Tennessee, a resident shot a subject after his sister saw someone breaking into a neighbor's car. This happened in the 5,000 block of Ridgetree Drive. A neighbor woke up to gunshots around 2 early Thursday morning. He said he believed there was a break-in at his neighbor's house. The resident at that home confronted the suspects with a gun and told them to get off his ground. Oh, I'm sorry, told them to get on the ground. That was close. A neighbor said a lot of gunfire. It was like two different kinds of gunshots. It sounds like there was 3 or 4 gunshots initially that started it, and then maybe 5 or 6 after that. Memphis police said early information indicates the shooting was connected to an attempted car burglary, as there was a string of car break-ins in the neighborhood before Thursday morning. At least 4 Memphis PD sources, they have a lot of sources leaking at Memphis PD, told Fox 13 one of the suspects got away. The other suspect ran toward the resident's house. The suspect pulled out his gun and pointed it at the resident. That's when the resident shot the suspect at least 6 times. Fox 13 noticed a surveillance camera at one of the nearby homes. Sources say one thing that's going to help this investigation is the reliable surveillance video that they saw, because the entire incident was captured on camera. Another comments here, another of a long series of self-defense shooting wherein an armed intended victim stops a crime in progress. A vehicle burglary is a low-level crime where one would expect the perps to simply flee when confronted by an armed victim. Surprise, one fled as expected, the other pulls his own firearm and the gunfight begins. It appears from the press reports the defensive shots were fired first. That is really not an issue. If a threatening person points a firearm at you, the law does not require you let him shoot you before you shoot him. Imminent danger of serious physical injury or death is what matters. A clearly valid use of deadly force in most jurisdictions. That being said, retaining a criminal defense attorney to represent you in all phases of the case is a wise idea, particularly in this one. And I think my last story of the day, story number 8. This is from Cleveland.com, a journalist named Adam Farais, reports February 11, 2021 in Cleveland, Ohio, a 24-year-old man fatally shot one of 2 gunmen who tried to rob him Wednesday at a gas station in the city's Detroit Shoreway neighborhood. The incident happened around 8:45 in the evening at the HP gas station on Lorraine Avenue and West 73rd Street. The incident was captured on gas station surveillance video. The 19-year-old man that police say tried to rob the 24-year-old, identified by the Cayuga County medical examiner, died at the scene. His name was not released. The 24-year-old intended victim called police and said 2 men robbed him at the gas station. He stated that he shot one of the robbers. He told police he left the gas station and that the other would-be robber, a 20-year-old suspect, followed him home and was standing outside his house. Never failed to amaze me, these things. Officers arrived at the 24-year-old victim's home, and there was the 20-year-old would-be robber. He was arrested on suspicion of aggravated robbery and murder. No actual former charges have been filed in this case. The 24-year-old man was not arrested and is not considered a suspect. The incident remains under investigation. We're running over, but I had to get this story in. Comments here. The second would-be robber follows the victim home and waits outside. What in the world is going on here? There must be a lot more to this story than we know so far. The second would-be robber would be charged with murder under the felony murder rule. If an accomplice is killed during a felony crime, the surviving perp is held responsible for his death, not the intended victim who fired in valid self-defense. The felony murder rule is generally applied in most jurisdictions. A note here. Couple of notes on the end of the show. The Nevada Firearms Coalition is a Nevada group affiliated with the National Rifle Association that lobbies the Nevada legislature to protect Second Amendment causes in Nevada. Joining or donating to them is a great way to help protect your firearms rights. You can contact them at nvfac.org. That is nvfac.org. This tape will be up for a while. You can look it up. And a final mention today, the loss this week of Rush Limbaugh was a horrible event for conservative causes. He will be missed. I was always amazed that Rush could do a 3-hour show live and just keep talking. This thing is 30, 35 minutes, and it drives me crazy trying to get it all put together. Anyway, I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio station. When watching any media, please click on subscribe so new shows can be sent to your phone or computer automatically each week. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip, mentioned earlier in a commercial. You can go there and shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms, or even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. They do provide transportation. You can find them at info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thanks for watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin. I'll be back next week with a whole lot more.